Now here is the risk that the Browns had to take with I love you, Cleveland. And I love you, Ohio. And a very pleasant welcome to this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Hi, I'm Bruce Drennan, along with Ryan Smith, my producer, and our special guest this week, Nick Padone of Big Play Cleveland show with Gabby Cruz and Chris McNeil. Of course, he's our general manager, maybe the youngest front office executive in broadcasting.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you. By the way, really a young success story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Why? I don't know, but
hey, it's because you know what? You want to know why? Because it's because I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, listening to legends like you, which is why I wanted to
be your kiss of death. Look out with that. Listen, we wanted to have Nick on because we're going to do a couple of segments on the Browns and the draft, and then the NBA playoffs with our Cavaliers, who will be playing Game 2 tonight against Miami. Several weeks ago, I got a tip. Reliable source. I did not make it up. That Jerry Jones, Haslam, and the Browns and the Cowboys were working out a deal that Dak Prescott would be traded to Cleveland in exchange for the 33rd pick, Newsome, the cornerback from Cleveland. And if there was something else in the deal, I was not informed of that. I had not heard that through my tip. Little did I know that this would make such national news. We got 8 million hits on all over the country. Dallas people were calling me, all radio and TV stations from all over the country. I didn't do one interview on purpose. I did not do one interview. When I was young, I would have done them all. Since then, many people have trashed me. Adam Schefter didn't trash me, which I found interesting. Nick informed me of something Jerry Jones just said. Was it yesterday, Nick?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yesterday, this is from ESPN.com now. Jerry Jones said the Cowboys working on 2 substantive trades that could happen before, during, or after the NFL draft.
Right. In order for the tip that I heard, now this again is, 4 weeks old. So things may have changed since then. I have not heard anything different since then. I haven't heard anything to have me come on with you and say it's Nick's. It's not going to happen either. For a lot of reasons. Do you think the fan base of the Cleveland Browns are all giddy and excited knowing that Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett are our quarterbacks going into this season? Oh, man, are we a threat? If you believe that, you believe that Russia and Ukraine are pals. 2, don't you find it odd that Myles Garrett was going up and down Media Row at the Super Bowl, volunteering to do every interview available, saying he wanted to be traded, and then suddenly, after the big game, he signs an extension with the Browns. Now, money talks, nobody walks, but he could have got the same money from a Philadelphia or a Washington who coveted him. My source said that the reason Garrett changed his mind so quickly is because the Browns told him they were in the works of getting him Prescott. And Garrett became giddy. Now, Garrett publicly, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, came out and said, he was asked, do you know who the Browns quarterback will be next year? And he said, yes, but I can't say. Am I right or wrong about that?
Correct. Yep. That was the Browns themselves as an organization put that interview out with Andrew Siciliano, who's now part of the radio booth.
Now, since then, from the Dallas point of view, you Cowboy fans who have been monitoring our show ever since I opened up my big mouth, which is not unusual, you made a trade with New England to get a guy by the name of Milton, didn't you? Who everybody says is that close from being NFL starting QB ready. Again, why should you be excited about going into another season with Prescott, especially against the Super Bowl champion Eagles and a legitimate Super Bowl contender in Washington with this young phenom Daniels? What was it, 2 years ago that Prescott had these unbelievably phenomenal numbers? What did that get you? And don't tell me you haven't had the surrounding cast around him sufficient enough offensively as weapons to get to the Super Bowl. Last time the Cowboys got to the Super Bowl, Barry Switzer was the coach with Aikman. That's after Jimmy Johnson. Here's another factor. If this tip I got weeks ago was right and Newsom's part of the deal, did the Browns this past week, guys, sign a cornerback that used to be with Miami?
They did.
It may not come about, but I'm telling you, Haslam has got to do something rather than starting this season with Flacco. And by the way, talking about the draft, if they draft Sanders, oh, God help us, let alone wait till 33 and take Milroe or this Dart. Have you guys seen Dart play in Mississippi?
Oh, yeah.
Every time I watched him play at Mississippi, he threw interceptions, went on the bench, and was going like this. Go ahead.
Bruce, what's interesting, too, especially talking about the quarterbacks and the three that, seem to be linked to the Browns, they're not going to get Cam Ward. Cam Ward's going to go number one
and
overall.
I'm not convinced
to
he's going to be a
Tennessee.
great star.
And I'm not either. I think what will become interesting is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are really the team for Browns fans to watch at number 21 overall, because they've met and done extensive research on all of those guys that you just named, from Shedeur Sanders to Jackson Dart to Jalen Milroe, who might not be the solution to Cleveland's problems, but they also might not be the solution to Pittsburgh's
problems. But how much longer
either.
can they wait on Rodgers, too?
And even with Rodgers, I mean, Rodgers 41.
And Cousins, now, CBS had a story today that Cousins, and please forget, here's another one. Cousins, I love these writers who think they know so much that Cousins may still be coming to Cleveland. Does that excite you? Ask Atlanta fans how excited they were after seeing him perform last year.
I think
Heck, he didn't even finish the season. They put Penix in at the end.
Because I think the number was like 16 interceptions that he threw in a half of the amount of time.
Yeah. So he's still out there, and I don't necessarily think he'll be dealt until after the draft when somebody needs a quarterback because of an injury or whatever. But I don't see any of the. The only quarterback that I think might be Will Howard. I think is worth a look from Ohio State. I'm not necessarily saying for the Browns. I mean, if it's in the cards, fine. But he may be worth a look. Championship quarterback with our Buckeyes. But Sanders, Dart, Milroe, none of them excite me.
Well, the word out is that the Shedeur Sanders slide is on. Usually this happens on the night of the draft.
I'm seeing it all you're right, Nick. All
somewhat
the
of a
the
surprise.
mock drafts. Yeah, he's going way down.
This wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, now these, mock drafters and some of the draft analysts are ahead of this, Bruce, that Shedeur Sanders is sliding. You're looking at the 20s, if not late 20s, if not early 30s, where Cleveland Browns will be drafting on Friday for Shedeur Sanders. Similar story to Jalen Milroe. We've heard from Jump Street, and you said it on this show ever since the season ended. Weak quarterback class. Feels like the rest of the league has caught up to that, and nobody feels that desperate to grab these guys. We'll see if that changes on Thursday. We know desperate teams do desperate things, and we've seen our Cleveland Browns reach on quarterbacks, especially via trade into the 20s. Think of the Brandon Whedons and the Johnny Manziels at that 22 spot. So we'll have to see what happens. It sounds like the Browns are making some calls to maybe trade back in late to the first round. So buckle up, because I do believe that everything's on the table.
I don't
here.
see them trading up. I cannot see them trading up. I don't see them trading away the second. Ryan, chime in here.
I think right now the Browns are going to take Travis Hunter at 2. I
No
think
question about it.
I think if Jalen
If they don't, they're idiots.
I think if
Which
Jalen
we
Milroe,
already know they are.
I
But
think if Jalen Milroe's available at pick 33, I really do think that's going to be the pick. Andrew Berry has spoken very highly of Jalen Milroe. Now that's more of a project quarterback. He has intangibles you can't teach, but is he NFL ready? No. But is Shador Sanders NFL ready? Yet to be seen. But Bruce, I think the idea that the Browns won't trade back into the first, I actually think that they will.
you mean from number 2?
From 33.
Oh, from 30. You trade back.
Trade back
into the
yeah.
first.
Oh, into the first. I don't see that because if my tip doesn't come through, there's still going to be a very quality player at 33. Why trade up and sacrifice picks later on? I don't see that happening because it's like an additional first-round pick when you're 33.
Correct. The only thing that you don't have, and maybe a reason why they could be enticed to move in, is you get that 5th-year option. So if you want to be super sure on a guy, that 5th year could be beneficial. You don't get that at 33 because it's technically a second-round pick. You only get 4 years of a contract there. But especially if they're doing what all of these analysts and experts are saying, where it's Travis Hunter at 2, and then their next pick is probably going to be a QB, whether it's Sanders, Milroe.
Unless my tip is
Bruce's tip is correct.
But here's the
you
other
would
thing.
only have then 4 years if they stay at 33 to figure out if Shador, Jalen Milroe, who's a project, is the guy.
Big time project.
Yeah.
The naysayers to when I came out with this are saying, "Oh, he's stupid. You can't work out the money." Jimmy Haslam and Jerry Jones are billionaires. And they didn't become billionaires because they're stupid idiots financially. If anybody can work out the money, and Barry's there as a GM, prove your Ivy League status, which doesn't mean much these days, but they could work out the money. The snag, in my opinion, is the no trade clause that Prescott has. However, if you're the Browns, you can say, we're going to take Hunter at number 2 and give you an additional weapon as a receiver. Yeah, we're going to use him defensively too, like he's requesting. You could do that for a couple of years like Dion did. But how enticing would that be for Prescott? Now, here's another negative about the no trade that Prescott may not want to play in this weather. That bothers me. Although he played in the opening game last year, right after he signed his contract, and performed well. Let's take a break. We'll come back. More on the Browns, more on the draft. Bonus time with Drennan. Nick Padone is joining Ryan, what's his name over there, and yours truly.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com today.
Great to have you back with us with our draft special. Nick Padone joining us, Ryan Smith, of course. And, fellas, it is intriguing. It's sad in a way that we have this controversy again with the quarterback position in Cleveland. We thought we had that resolved with the Watson, first Mayfield, and now this Watson fiasco. But there's other picks that the Browns have besides the 33rd, that first and the second round. They got 2 picks in the 3rd round, 67 and 94. One of those is the Amari Cooper deal. They've got a pick in the 4th round, 104. They have 4 in the 6th round. 4 in the 6th round. 179, 192, 200, and 216. And then they got a 7th round pick. It's a real crapshoot, even in the 1st round, but even more so as you proceed in this. I keep seeing Kyle Kennard, the edge rusher from South Carolina, affiliated with the Browns. Damian Martinez, running back from Miami. And Sarian Williams, wide receiver from TCU. Do you guys see any of these names affiliated with the Browns later on in the draft?
What's nice, Bruce, is that this is a loaded RB class. So I think this is going to be a draft later on where the Browns are going to have an opportunity to find their heir apparent to Nick Chubb. And maybe there's a world where Nick Chubb, who still is a free agent, by the way, finds his way back here to
I think
Cleveland.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid he might be damaged goods. I hate to say that.
For
because
sure.
I adore Chubb and what he did. But I mean, he hurt that knee originally in college at Georgia, let alone up here. Go ahead, Nick.
But it's an absolutely loaded class. It's headlined by Ashton Genty, who was the Heisman runner-up this year.
He's a beauty, too. I love him, too.
But behind him, Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina is highly sought after. Both of these Ohio State running backs, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I'm told Judkins had spent time with the Browns, as well as your guy, Cam Scatabo, out of Arizona State, actually traveled to Berea toward the facility. And that could be Peyton Hillis 2.0.
Very good.
He met with the Browns, and they have been linked to him. So I definitely think at some point this weekend, the Browns are going to use, I'd venture to say, one of these top 100 picks on a running back to figure out what life looks like after Nick Chubb.
I do too. And they got to get an offensive lineman. We need depth on that offensive line. And I think that they may go for a safety at some point, but definitely running back. And there's always room for another wide receiver. You can't have enough weapons offensively. So any take on that, Ryan?
Well, I'll say this at 33, Bruce, it'll be interesting to see because I know the idea is you're going Travis Hunter at 2, and you mentioned always loading up on wide receivers, right? Jerry Jeudy proved he could be a wide receiver, although I think wide receiver 2 would be more natural. That's what you'd like to see out of Jerry Jeudy. And then behind that, a guy like Cedric Tillman, still don't know exactly what he's going to be. If Emeka Egbuka is there at 33, I know you already went receiver. That's hard to pass. Travion Henderson would be a good pick at 33. Josh Connerly Jr., if he's there at 33. And then also edge rusher guys, if a Shamar Stewart falls, if a James Pierce falls. Yeah. 33 would be wide open for all those guys, Bruce.
Don't you think there's a big question mark about Carter because of his injury?
I think there should be. I find it fascinating that during the Indianapolis Combine when I was down there, and I had some of those same questions, everybody threw cold water on it. Non-factor, he's not going to participate here. He'll participate in Penn State's Pro Day. Penn State's Pro Day rolls around. Where is he? Nowhere to be seen. I find it very interesting, and I'm glad that the Browns, it seems like, are heavily leaning towards Travis Hunter and heavily leaning away from Abdul Carter. I think, to me, there's just way too many question marks. And to Ryan's point, there are good defensive ends later in this class. James Pierce out of Tennessee, when I'm looking at prospects, I always like how'd they look against Ohio State. James Pierce in that playoff game was the only thing that Tennessee had to hang their hat on off that edge. He was really, really good. And it's a deep edge class from elsewhere. I'd like to see if later on, if they could find someone to try to pair with Miles. Doing it at 2 overall with Abdul Carter. No. I just have too many questions and take the unicorn.
I've kind of sloughed over. I haven't really devoted much attention to talking about that number 2 pick with Hunter because I mean, you got to take the best available. This is one of the most extraordinary athletes to come along in the draft in years. In years. And if he says he's going to quit football if he doesn't play both ways, you accommodate him. That won't last. Like I said earlier, a couple of years he'll be able to. And then, you know what? He's going to go to the coach and say, hey, coach, I think it's time that I do one or the other.
Bruce, am I crazy for saying I like the fact that he came out and said, I'll retire, I'll walk away if I'm not allowed to play. To me, that screams of a guy that is all about ball. The Browns quarterback that was paid $230 million, fully guaranteed, walked off the field this year against the Washington Commanders. And I was like, did he quit? Did he just quit on the field? This is a guy that wants to play both ways. Yeah. You know he's not going to quit. And I love that attitude. And I think as the Browns try to freshen up their culture a little bit here, they could use more guys like Travis Hunter. And not everybody's physically gifted enough to actually do it, but I love the mental makeup to do it.
He's one of a kind. They can't. It would be lunacy and insanity. And if Tennessee wasn't in such dire need, I would say they're crazy for not taking him too, because he's extraordinary, and you just can't pass up a player like that.
What'll be interesting for me, Bruce, it's been over 10 years since the Browns have truly featured a wide receiver on offense. The last time they did it was probably Josh Gordon. Other than that, it's been by committee. It's been very run-centric, run-heavy. Odell Beckham Jr. got 1,000 yards receiving by accident because he wouldn't stop crying that he wasn't getting enough targets. With Travis Hunter, they're going to have to. Kevin Stefanski now will be tasked tasked with finding a way to get him the football early in games and often in games.
Right.
And I kind of wonder if that's why they brought back Joe Flacco, a vet that could sling the football down the field and at least get Travis Hunter the ball in a world where your scenario doesn't come
He's a
true.
game changer. Anything to add, Ryan, before we go to break?
I would just say, along with what Nick's saying, the idea of Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter could be a great player. And a comparison that a lot of people make to him is Micah Parsons. You could be looking at a 8-time Pro Bowler, but you look at the defensive impacts. We've had the best defensive player in football for the last 9-8 years. Trey Hendrickson leads the leagues in sacks. His team misses the playoffs. The opportunity to get a player who let's call it can play 1.5 ways if he manages to have some snaps on defense. Just the appeal, the ceiling, looking at how the offense was last year. I think it's an absolutely no-brainer if you're not going quarterback to go Travis Hunter too.
Well, we shall see. It all gets underway tomorrow evening. We shall see. We're going to keep Nick around because we want to shift gears, talk about our playoff contender, our championship contender, Cleveland Cavaliers, off to a great start. Game 2 tonight. Bonus time with Trennan continues on Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
I love you, Menor Nissan. Hi, Bruce Drennan here from my good friends at Menor Nissan, Ray Sminchak, the whole staff. As you know, I've been doing a lot of our shows down in Florida, just returned. Great to be back on the home confines of our beautiful studios here at Burke Lakefront Airport for Big Play. But I got to tell you, I drove my Nissan Rogue from Menor Nissan down to Florida, had the rack up on top with extra luggage. It was absolutely the most splendid, beautiful ride. Just as smooth as could be. My wife also drives a Rogue. We rotated driving down there and back, but I just can't recommend it any more so to you. Get on out there, test drive a Rogue or a Murano or any of the other great products that they have out there at Menor Nissan. Don't forget, they're now in partnership with Infinity of Akron and Infinity of Beechwood. Check those great vehicles out as well. Service department is absolutely fantastic. Went back to the dealership to get maintenance after that long drive down there and back. And give them a call. Set up an appointment. Of course, check out their website at MenorNissan.com. That's MenorNissan.com. I love you, Menor Nissan. Go Cavs! Bruce Drennan, Ryan Smith, our special guest, Nick Padone. Off to a great start. So is Oklahoma City. They won their game 2 last night. But the Cavaliers are really looking like this coach, Ryan and I have talked about it a lot, Nick. We just can't say enough about this guy and with basically the same personnel before the Hunter trade.
I absolutely can't fathom the fact that when the Cavs hired Kenny Atkinson, we said in a dream scenario, he finds a way to figure out if Darius and Donovan can coexist. Check. He finds a way to unlock Evan Mobley. Check. He makes the Cavs a serious threat in the playoffs. Check. Number 1 seed, home court advantage. East runs through Cleveland. And he takes the Cavs on a deep postseason run. That's the one box that's to be seen because we're currently living within it. But other than that, our dream scenario for the Cavs and for Kenny Atkinson, Bruce, is 3 for 3. He's figured out that these two guards could play together. He's unlocked Evan Mobley offensively and found a way for him to attack the basket with the handle to shoot the 3 ball. I absolutely love this Cavs team. I think this is the most fun I've had with the Cavs team since the championship. But even the championship, there was expectations. There was a lot of expectations that group of the big 3, Kyrie, Kevin, and LeBron would get the job done in Cleveland. These kids don't have that same sort of pressure. And I think you see that translate on the court. They're playing loose. Darius Garland's blowing kisses to the crowd. They're having a lot of fun out there. And I think that's because they're playing loose and playing Cavalier basketball.
Great point. And making all the big 4 not only gel together when they're on the floor at the same time, but when they're not and they're mixed in with all the guys coming off the bench. And Ryan and I have talked about this a lot. And we had Gene Winters on a couple of weeks ago. I can't believe how he's using this bench. This is the deepest bench the Cavs, in my opinion, have ever had. And he's utilizing all these games. And so far, it looks like he's going to continue to do that in the playoffs. I think that's extremely healthy.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And what I'm looking forward to seeing out of the bench is when these series flip to the road games this weekend, when the Cavs have to go to Miami. Not great fans in Miami, can we say? There's a lot of other things to do in Miami than watch basketball, but it's hard to win playoff games on the road regardless. That's when you need your bench. That's when you need Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter to be the prolific scorers that we've seen.
Wow.
He's been awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a great point too. But I'm so excited about the prospects. Again, it really comes down to if we can accelerate this. Boston. I can't see anybody else beating the Cavs. And I love the fact that Allen the other day after game 1 victory said, yeah, we were real physical with them, because that's been the downfall of the Cavs the last couple of years under Bickerstaff. Speaking of which, Detroit in the playoffs at 1-1 against the New York Knicks. A lot to be said for the job that he has done at Detroit. The only competition, in my opinion, for Atkinson for Coach of the Year. And then, of course, you've got Boston so far against Orlando looking dominant, and Indiana looking very strong against Milwaukee.
Yeah, no Dame for game 1. Dame comes back for game 2, and it doesn't matter. The Pacers are a good team. The Pacers are battle-tested as well. They made a run all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they kind of proved that this new NBA is all about scoring, and they score so much that it's hard for even a team that has a great player like Giannis and Dame employed to keep up with the scoring. It's just so much scoring. That series would be a lot of fun, not to look too far ahead, but you got the Cavs, who finished the regular season as the #1 offense in the league, against that offense. A lot of overs and a lot of points going on in a Cavs-Pacers potential series.
By the way, did I hear that Rozier is out for tonight's game against the Cavs?
I believe so. I don't know what's going on with that. I think game 1, it was kind of like a coach's decision as to why he didn't play, and then and similar to Kevin Love, who was out with personal reasons. And game 2, it's kind of trending towards not playing, which is awesome, because Terry Rozier is a guy that tends to scorch the Cavs. He's from here, local hometown dude that just loves playing Cleveland.
I don't know what to figure out in the West. I mean, I think it's wide open. Oklahoma City's the #1 seed, and deservingly so, with the best record overall in the NBA. But obviously, even if they sweep Memphis, there's no guarantee that they can beat an LA Lakers now that they have Luka teamed up with LeBron, let alone Golden State, who really seems like they've got the momentum right now. We know they're battle-tested with Curry and Green and company. The LA Clippers and Denver both 1-1 so far in that series. The West is wide open.
Wide open, and you can't put it past the old guards. LeBron James, Luka Doncic, championship tested. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, guys that have won NBA championships and been to NBA championships. I know OKC is the young hot thing, and they're having their way with Memphis, who looks like they don't belong in these playoffs at all.
Right.
I'm not sleeping on the old guard, though, out there in the West.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan, any input on any of this?
I'll say this. I feel pretty good, Bruce, to say I don't think it's going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals. I think they are one of the most talented teams in the NBA, if not the most talent. SJ is the MVP, soon-to-be winner. But when it comes to the playoffs, I think this is one of the last hurrahs we see of that generation of LeBron, of Steph Curry. Jimmy Butler, not quite that old, but has been to multiple NBA championships. Right. I think when rubber hits the road, that playoff mentality, we're going to be seen in the spotlight, and it's going to be either Golden State or Los Angeles coming out of the West this year.
I'll be darned. Isn't that something, Nick?
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt what Ryan
I wouldn't doubt it either.
Not at all. Western Division is certainly wide open, but go Cavs! That's the bottom line. And it does appear like the Cavaliers will take care of business tonight. They better, by the way. They better. They can't have a hiccup
in this series
against
period.
Miami.
In this series period, let's discard of the Miami.
Don't take anything for granted.
Correct.
Spoelstra's a great coach.
Correct.
Don't take anything for granted. And Nick, I want to thank you very much for joining us. These first 3 segments, Nick, of course, of Big Play Cleveland with Gabby and Chris. Great show, and I'm assuming the GM duties here at the Big Play Network. Thanks, partner.
Thank you, Bruce.
Always a pleasure. All right, we'll be back. We'll shift our gears, talk some baseball, Indians, Guardians, and the American League Central. Really tightening up. Tigers off to a good start. We'll dive into that when we come back. Bonus time with Drennan here on Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Pure AV, luxury home automation. Experience your dream smart home by visiting pureavcorp.com.
Well, our thanks to Nick Padone for joining us here in the first portion of Bonus Time with Drennan, this week's version here on Big Play. Good stuff, Ryan, with Nick always.
Yes, very knowledgeable. I know he was able to go to the combine. He got all the inside scoops, so appreciate him hopping on here. Great job as usual.
Well, let's shift our gears to the Guardians, where 3-2 victory against the New York Yankees guarantees that the Guardians, that's a first series win for Cleveland against the Yankees since 2019. You could say that the Yankees leadoff man's leadoff home run on the first pitch, by the way, was to start the ball game, was a wake-up call for Bibee, our starting pitcher, because that homer moved him into a tie for the most home runs given up this season with 8. After that start to the game, Bibee settled down through 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, 5 hits, 106 pitches, and 70 of them for strikes. Bibee entered the game with a whopping 5.85 ERA. And he gave manager Stephen Vogt just what he needed. Pitching quality innings, which gave the overworked bullpen some rest. Much needed rest, I might add. But the Guardians broke through in the 6th inning, sending 9 batters to the plate. 4 of the 5 hits were singles. And the win makes it 5 in a row, 11 out of 14 for the Guards. And we go for the sweep today with Ortiz versus Rodon. Ortiz coming off a great strikeout performance, and hopefully he's getting that comfort zone, Ryan, here in Cleveland, coming over from Pittsburgh a year ago.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see Gavin Williams shove and get the win in that first game against the Yankees, and you brought the bats. Jose Calmanzar to both go in yard. And then Tanner Bibee, a little bit of rough start. You mentioned the first pitch home run, but settles in, gives you 6 quality innings. The bullpen wraps it up. Cade Smith looks phenomenal. And you win a game against the Yankees playing the brand of baseball that you're used to, that small ball, Kwan getting 2 bases on that wild pitch. And just the Guardians 14-9 as we stand today, first in the AL Central. Great time anytime you have the chance to sweep the Yankees.
And taking a look at the Central Division, the Guardians 14-9, now assuming first place, 7-1 at home so far this year, 7-8 on the road. Manzardo, 7 home runs, 18 RBIs. Kwan's hitting .341. Detroit at 14-10, right behind us. Torkelson off to a great start, .273 average, 7 homers, 21 RBIs. Kansas City 10-14, 4.5 back. They've lost 7 of 10. Minnesota 8-15. Buxton made an amazing game-ending catch yesterday. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And the Chicago White Sox, what else is new? 5-18. They've lost 8 of 10. Worst record in the American League. We'll take a look at the rest of the major leagues when we come back in a minute. Bonus time with Drennan on Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Infinity, luxury experiences for those who dare to be different. Visit infinityusa.com today.
When time allows, I want to try to do this every week here on our show, go through the whole major leagues. American League East, I already did the Central. New York Yankees, Judge is hitting .411. He's got 7 homers and 25 RBIs already. Wow. And former Brave Max Fried, 4-0, 1.42 ERA. Boy, just what the doctor ordered with Cole being out for them. Bregman with Boston, they're 14-11, second place right behind the Yankees. I told you in my predictions, watch out for Boston this year. Bregman is hitting .302 with 4 homers and 19 RBIs. Toronto 12-12 they've lost 4 in a row. Guerrero with just 1 home run and 10 RBIs after that big contract signing. And then Baltimore 9-13, Tampa Bay. West, Texas 14-9. DeGrom is 0-1, 3.32 ERA. And he has 20 strikeouts and 21 2/3 innings. Tyler Mahle, though, has been the guy, 3-0, .68 ERA. Then Houston, 12-11. Seattle, 12-11. They've won 7 of 10. And Raleigh, the catcher, 9 homers and 16 RBIs. L.A. and the Athletics, as they are being called, 10-13. National League, the New York Mets at 17-7 share the best record in the major leagues along with San Diego. And they've won 6 in a row, 8 of 10. They're 11-1 at home. My goodness, Alonso hitting .349, 6 homers, 25 RBIs. He's got 10 doubles. Soto's only hitting .233. They're doing it without Soto. Philadelphia 13-11, Miami, Washington, Atlanta. Chris Sale, they're starting to play a little better, but Chris Sale, phenomenal last year, 0-2, 6.17 ERA. Central Division, the Cubs, my prediction to win it, 15-10. Kyle Tucker, 320 average, 7 homers, 25 RBIs, and 8 doubles. Milwaukee, Bryce Terang, 337 batting average, 8 stolen bases already. What a ball player. Cincinnati, with that buddy Tito, De La Cruz, 5 homers, 22 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases, then St. Louis and Pittsburgh. And in the West, San Diego, as I mentioned, sharing that best record with the Mets. Fernando Tatis, 344 batting average with 8 homers, 17 RBIs, and 7 stolen bases. What a player. And that Jackson Merrill, he's hitting 378. Dodgers 16-8, 10-2 at home. Yamamoto 3-1 record, .93 ERA, 38 strikeouts in 29 innings. Then San Francisco, just when you don't expect them to do much, they're a contender, 15-9. Corbin Carroll in Arizona, 14-9. Carroll's hitting .323 with 7 homers and 19 RBIs. And Colorado, 4-18. The distinction of the worst record in the major leagues, even worse than the White Sox. Ask Bruce next. By the way, one of our owners, Ken Miles, his horse Improbable Luck, ran in Arkansas in a race the other day. They've got high aspirations for him. He was in the number 1 post position and got blocked out and then ran out of gas. He had the lead halfway through the race, but when you come out of that number 1 post position, Ryan, you got to take the lead early and use a lot of acceleration, or you get blocked out and then you got to go around everybody. So I watched that race. Did you watch it?
I didn't have an opportunity to watch it. I went back and watched the highlights of it. Obviously, it's a quick race, but I basically saw the finish. Stinks, didn't get the win, but again, you come out with no injuries. It's going to be a long career for Improbable Luck, and I'm glad that I was able to watch it because that is just absolutely incredible knowing you own a little piece of that horse.
You don't want to miss a show coming up right before the Kentucky Derby. We're going to have Ken on the program to talk about horse racing. I spent some time with him down in Florida when I was there with he and his wonderful wife, Mary, and my wife, Jackie. She's wonderful, too, by the way. I was fascinated at some of the behind the scenes with horse racing and what's involved. Don't miss that show. It's coming up right before the Derby. All right, Ask Bruce segment. Fire away.
All right, Bruce, we'll start with the Browns. Hey, Bruce, what is the one position on the Browns depth chart you believe Andrew Berry must address throughout this year's NFL draft?
Well, obviously quarterback. I mean, I think running back is right behind it, too, because of the uncertainty of Chubb and the free agency. And I hate to just mention this about Chubb. You've heard me brag about him. I thought he was right there with Barkley. I really did. Gosh, he was so good. But longevity of running backs, you know how it goes. So it's a shame, but definitely quarterback, and we'll see. I just don't know if they'd have to. If my tip doesn't come through, even if it does, I don't know if Prescott's the answer. I don't think he is, especially with Burrow. If Cincinnati reinforces Burrow getting a good enough defense for him, look out for Cincinnati this year, let alone Jackson and Baltimore. Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh. But it would certainly be a big improvement here in Cleveland with Prescott. But if that doesn't come through, then you you're going to draft one of these guys, and there's uncertainty about every single one of these quarterbacks. So I don't know.
Alrighty, hey Bruce, as we're getting super close to the NFL draft, and after all of the hype, especially Andrew Berry comparing Travis Hunter to Shohei Ohtani, would it be a disappointment if the Browns end up trading back their number 2 pick?
Oh. If they do that, I don't know if my heart can take it. So if I'm not here next week, you'll know why. Don't even think such a horrendous mortal sin that would be. It's a no-brainer. As I said earlier when we had Nick on, if there wasn't a dire need for Tennessee, they'd be crazy if they didn't take this kid Hunter.
Alrighty, hey Bruce, flip it over to baseball now. What do you think how do you think it all went so wrong with Tristan McKenzie? And do you believe there's a chance that he clears waivers and can get back in Cleveland?
Yeah, he might because nobody may want him. Yeah, what a shame. You know what, though? I had seen him when I was going to spring training every year. I had seen him after we first signed him. And this tall, skinny, lanky kid. And I recognized what great stuff he had. But ever since we signed him, he's been injury prone, the poor kid. Very much so. And it's plagued him. And now I think it's up here. Now I think it's very mental. And he's pressing when he gets out there to try to have command of the strike zone. And it's just not there. It's a shame.
Alrighty, hey Bruce, Will Wilson was called up because of the Lane Thomas injury. Were you surprised that it was an infielder that was called up?
I was, although this Martinez is just so incredible. What a godsend. What a surprise he's been, for goodness sakes. And I'm sad about Thomas, too, because I think if you watch his show on a regular basis, how much I like Thomas. He's a ball player. And I hope he gets well and back in that lineup real soon.
Alrighty, last one for you. Hey, Bruce, we're almost 25 games into the regular season here in the MLB season. What do you view as right now our biggest positional need?
I think the starting rotation has to get deeper into the games. It's not the position so much. I want to see more offense out of several guys like Naylor, et cetera. But I don't think it's a position so much as just the starting rotation taking the burden off this tremendous bullpen. That, to me, is going to be a real key, particularly if indeed we're in contention and we get into the playoffs again, because it showed last year in the playoffs, catching up to us against New York. That's all the time we have for this version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Enjoy the draft. We'll be back with you next week. I'm Bruce Drennan on behalf of Ryan Smith. Until then, as always, and most importantly, you remember, I love you, Ohio, and I love you, Cleveland.
Thank you.